All right, welcome back to this training section in which we're going to be talking about how to actually test the PARQ form. So far we've gone ahead and already talked about in the previous training section, importing the PARQ form, which was super easy because it's not a legally binding agreement. It was actually much easier for us to just literally give it to you, import it, copy and paste, plug and play. We talked about editing the PARQ form. That was a little bit technical. I know I went ahead and talked to you a little bit about some of the advanced features when it came to custom fields, as well as the conditional logic that we've already gone ahead and built out for you. But once you go through that, you're going to be a pro in understanding how the actual form builder inside of ClientKit works. And then inside of this training, we're now going to go ahead and talk about setting up email notifications for when somebody fills out the form, as well as how to actually send the PARQ form, which is going to be important so you can actually test it yourself as well. Okay, so let's go and talk about email notifications. The very first thing we're going to go ahead and do is, if you don't already have it open, you want to make sure that you do have your PARQ form open. So we're going to go over to Sites, we're going to go over to Forms, and then there's going to be a drop down that says Form Builder. We're going to click on Form Builder, and then you should, if you've gone ahead and followed along from the previous training, you should already have the PARQ form inside of your account with the changes that we went ahead and recommend, or maybe just some of the edits that you should go ahead and review, right? So once you go ahead and actually open up your PARQ form, what's going to happen is that for the sake of email notifications, you're going to notice, let me zoom in here so you can see, you're going to notice that there is this bell icon here on the left side, okay? And so what we're going to do, let me zoom out again so that way you don't kind of get too zoomed in here, is we're going to click on this bell icon. And when we click on this bell icon, there are going to be two options for us. There is email notification, okay? And then there is autoresponder. All right. Now, what is the difference between the two? Email notification is an email, a notification that you or your team members or anybody who has access to the actual ClientKit account, right? The person who made the form, that is a notification for yourself. And then an autoresponder is exactly what it sounds like. It's an automatic response that is an automated email that goes out to the person who submits the form. So that way they get an email with a copy of the information that they actually submitted. Now, because of the fact that this is just a general information form, it's not as important for us to actually send an autoresponder. Now, can you? Of course, if you want to do that, if you want to set it up for yourself, if you find that your clients are like, hey, I want to get a copy of the PARQ form, sure, you can go ahead and send them their own responses, okay? But usually it's much more important to have an autoresponder, especially like if you remember for the new client agreement, those legally binding agreements, it's very important that they get a copy of their response for their own records because it is something that is a super important kind of legally binding agreement on there, right? However, what you do want to do is you do want a email notification for yourself. So that way, when somebody fills out your PARQ form, you know that they filled out your PARQ form, right? And so let me zoom in here so you can kind of see what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn this on together. And how you turn it on is you're going to go ahead and click on that button there. And then the subject line, this is now going to go ahead and give you three kind of prompts here, right? So first one is going to be, hey, what do you want the subject line to be of the email that we send you? And so in this case, you can go ahead and leave it PARQ form, Body Forge Fitness, whatever the name of the form is probably going to be the subject line. You can leave it like that if you want, or sometimes what I like to do is I put new submission, PARQ form, right? And I'll go ahead and take out the business name because obviously if I'm getting it, I am the business already, so it doesn't really matter. So new submission, and then email to. Now this is going to be where you can go ahead and put whatever email that you want to do. Now, typically we are going to recommend that you go ahead and put your support email or whatever you get your emails for the business purposes, right? So in this case, support at bodyforge, whatever the company name is, fitness.com. Of course, yours is not going to be at bodyforge fitness. You're going to put whatever your support email is. And then sender name, this you can put something in here if you would like. Let's say, for example, you wanted it to come, so you can organize it in your email inbox. Or if you do leave it blank, it is automatically going to go ahead and fill in what your ClientKit name is. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it blank, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Okay. Now you can go ahead and verify this one more time by clicking on the bell icon, make sure everything is on there. And then most importantly, you want to make sure that right there, you hit save at the top right. Very important. Just because you hit save over here does not mean that it saved the entire form, right? So you want to hit save so that way it saves right over there. Very important. Okay. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is when we talk about part 3, email notifications. You'll see how simple and easy that was, right? It was literally just as simple as boom. There was no email templates you had to download. There was no kind of like giving them their own information back, all of that stuff. Super, super easy. And that's what you're going to notice here when we talk about forms and surveys, right? Let me actually kind of go back over here so I can show you what we're talking about. Is if I go over here to sites, and then if I go ahead and zoom out just a second here, you'll see that we have forms. and we have surveys. Both of these are fantastic features and tools to be able to use to collect information, right? So you're going to see later on when we walk you through how to set up an intake form for your clients, when you actually have a new client in an onboarding form, you want to get different sources of information from them. Forms and surveys are phenomenal. But when it comes to actually getting legally binding agreements, right? That's the reason why under payments, you got to have those contracts and all that setup that we did over there, because it's very different for forms and surveys compared to a legally binding agreement, like I've said 102 times already. But you get the point here. Okay, so that's email notifications, part number 3. What I'm now going to go ahead and next talk to you about, so we've talked about part 3, we're going to talk about sending the PARQ form. Okay, so how do you actually get the link to send either to yourself or to your clients? What you do is you're going to go ahead and click, let me zoom in so you can see, you're going to go ahead and click on integrate right over here, okay? And when you click on integrate, okay, right here, it's going to go ahead and give you the option, right? So it says, hey, how do you want this to show up when you embed? Well, we're not embedding this, so you don't have to worry about the embed, okay? And then all of these settings over here, this is, again, if you're embedding the form, you can have the form open up in different kind of, different ways when somebody goes through this. We're not doing this, right? All we right now care about, not even the embed code. We don't care about embedding this on our website right now. All we do is we have this link right here, which says copy form link, right? All we do is we click on that, and you'll see it says copy to clipboard. And then just like that, it's literally so easy. All we can do now, you can just go over here. Let's say we go to contacts. And then from there, it's very easy. We can just go say, cool, hey, Elon, I got you your, boom, just like that. Command Shift V or Command V, right? You just paste it right there. That's the shortcut key, right? And then just like that, you have it. Now, you could also go ahead and click on Open Form Link. And what that'll do is actually will open up the form for you inside of another tab, so that way you can actually go ahead and test it. So you can test it both on the desktop, right, which is on the computer, or you can also go ahead and test it on your mobile device by sending the link to yourself and then clicking on the link on your phone. Now, in this case, I am going to go ahead and actually kind of fill this out with you and walk you through this. So let's say, for example, my name is John Doe. Let's say my john@gmail.com, okay, and the email, the phone number, let's just say, okay, and then from there, we say, you know what? Has your doctor told you have a heart condition? Yes. Do you feel pain in your chest? Yes. Okay, I'm going to just answer yes to all of these questions. Okay, so let's say you answer yes to all these questions. Okay, and there's our other question. We said, do you have high blood sugar? Yes, I agree. Okay, and then you go ahead and sign. And then when you hit submit, right? So remember, we have that conditional logic. If you remember from the previous training, we talked about the conditional logic. That conditional logic on here, when I hit submit, you'll see that it's actually going to take me over to a page that's going to say, thank you for completing the PARQ form. You've answered yes to one or more of the questions. And then this right here is the response that's there, right? And so this is where you can now actually test and make changes, where if you're like, you know what, I don't like how it says this, or I want to add something additional. All you got to do is you go back over here, right? So you remember you have the tabs open here at the top, right? And so all you do is you click on there, and then remember where the yes was? The yes was inside of the conditional logic. We click on edit here. And let's say, for example, I wanted it to say, find out which community programs are safe and helpful for you. If you have any questions, reach out to the support team, okay? Now remember that. I added that there. If you have any questions, reach out to the support team. I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save again. I'm then going to go ahead and hit integrate. I'm then going to go ahead and open form link, right? Because I had to open another one because this is the old one. I can kind of close this one out. I'm going to go ahead and then fill it out once again. John Doe, let's say it saves all my information. Let's go ahead and enter in a phone number. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and from there, I'm going to go ahead and hit yes, yes, yes. Okay. I can even hit no for one of them. It doesn't really matter because remember the conditional logic, if any of them are yes, then it is going to say boom. And then you'll see, if you have any questions, reach out to the support team. So that right there has now gone ahead and been edited and added to the actual page that the person is going ahead and redirected to. Now, what I will go ahead and mention is that this is not technically a page that we built. It was just a message that is shown to the person according to the logical fields there. Now, can we go out and build an entire web page that looks a lot nicer than this and do all of that and then have that link to another thing and put it on our domain name and do all that stuff? Yes, of course we could, right? There's a whole bunch of settings there that if we wanted to say, cool, go to settings and go to options, and we say, cool, whenever you submit, open a URL and then open the URL and go to some other page. That's much more advanced. Right now, we're just showing you if you're just going ahead and rocking and rolling with the existing feature set that is in here. And then obviously down the road, if you want to get more advanced, you want to get a little bit more kind of, going more complex with this, you want to make an entire separate web page for this and you want to link it and all that stuff, that could also be a possibility, right? Let me actually show you one more thing. So if you go ahead and click on integrate over here, open form link, We're going to go ahead and be John Doe once again. So John Doe, awesome. Enter in our phone number. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on no for all of these this time around. Okay. So not a single one of them is going to be yes. All right. So no, no, no. Do a signature there, submit. You'll see that the actual message now shows up is you've answered no to all of these. This means that you are ready to go. And again, this message then comes because of right over here, options. And then we have this message that shows up, which was the no message. And we've gone ahead and explained this in the past, but I just wanted to walk you through that. That way now you can actually test it and see what it would look like. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. We would recommend that you go ahead and test this on yourself, right? So go ahead and send yourself the link, go ahead and test it. The last thing I want to show you is where you can actually check for submissions, okay? So if we go I'm not going to click back because I want to save this here. So I'm going to hold command on my keyboard. I'm going to click on back here, open this up in another tab, okay? And let me actually show you where the submissions are going to be. So if I go ahead and go over to sites, and then I put my mouse over the forms button here, you're going to see that there's a button that shows up that says submissions, okay? If I click on submissions, what you're going to see is we now see all of the submissions that were here previously. And so that's where, remember what we saw? We had our submissions that we just submitted, John Doe, John Doe, John Doe, right? So we did that live. And then you'll see all of these submissions show up here. And I can actually look at the submissions. I can actually go ahead and download these submissions as a PDF if I want to go ahead and open it that way, right? I can actually go ahead and select all of them and delete all of them as well. Be careful with that. Don't do that, okay? You want to make sure that you're clear on that. But the point is that you can go ahead and see all of your submissions. You can go ahead and click on this and see all of your submissions based off of the type of form that they filled out as well. So let's say, for example, you had different submissions from different forms. All of that is going to be in here. You can also go ahead and see what submissions you had from a specific date range. So let's say you're like, you know what? I want to see all of the PARQ forms that were submitted, over the last week. You could go ahead and do that as well. You could also from here go ahead and export all of that data into a CSV file, kind of like a Google Sheets file or an Excel file. You could go ahead and do that as well. So you see, it's extremely powerful what you can do with the forms builder, the form submissions. And they also have an analyze over here. You can start to see, hey, let me see how many form submissions I got based off of the reports and the data, right? So you can go ahead and see based off the date range, how many form submissions you got. So that might be something mainly you use for like sales and marketing purposes, maybe not so much for a PARQ form, but you're getting the gist of this, right? I'm just walking you through where you can actually see, okay, I tested this on myself. I used the integrate button. I was able to go ahead and test this both in the desktop and in the mobile. And then we also went ahead and walked you through how to actually check for the submissions and what that would look like also. Finally, the last thing I'm going to go ahead and mention to you is that you can also go ahead and see this information on the PARQ side of things inside the actual contact record. So if I go to contacts, and then I go over here to, let's say I find John Doe, right? So John Doe was the person that was filling out that PARQ form. And then here on the left side, you're going to see right here where it has their contact information, all of their information that is related to their PARQ is showing inside of their contact record as well. How cool is that, right? And so it's very, very easy for you. Of course, you could always collapse this if you wanted to have more space. You could pretty much very easily say, okay, you know what? Open up John Doe and show me, hey, what answers did he have for his PARQ? And so I'm just opening the doors in your mind. You might not use this for the PARQ, but for other forms, for other submissions, for other custom fields that you might have that are specific information for a specific contact or for a specific client or for a specific lead or for a specific prospect, all that information is housed within the contact record, right? And then of course, over here, you'll see, and we're going to go through this in the future, you'll be able to learn, hey, you can see all of their activity, you can see all the tasks, you can see all the notes that you might have for this. It's a very, very powerful and robust CRM system. And this is the reason why we went ahead and said many, many times, it's important for you to acknowledge that a system is what you need. You don't need a hodgepodge, random Frankenstein spiderweb monster of a bunch of different softwares that you just kind of collected over time. This is the reason why we're walking you through this entire system step by step by step, so you understand how each of the parts of the system work and how everything is actually connected together. So it makes it seamless and easy for you to run your business rather than you having to be busy with tech and connecting things and all that. So instead you can be focusing on the marketing, the sales, the fulfillment, the serving of your clients, and focusing on the things that are going to generate for you the most income, impact, and freedom. So that way you can have what it is that you want in your life. Okay. So that, ladies and gentlemen, I know it was a little bit lengthier, but I wanted to make sure that we extensively go through exactly how to send the PARQ form as well as how to test it on yourself. But that pretty much is the end of this training section. When we talk about how to test the PARQ form, we went ahead and really got into the nuts and bolts here, but I hope you learned a tremendous amount. But by the end of this, you should have your PARQ form ready to rock and roll. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. We will catch you on the next training section.